starting recording. Yeah,
Who's the?
oh gosh, that was good. So today's topic is about transparency, guys. What is the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about transparency? Whatever area that is.
Being totally true and honest. Being totally true who you are to yourself and to others.
Thank you.
Freedom sounds to me.
I think of like clear, like transparent is clear as opposed to opaque.
I think of like too much information versus like not enough information.
Too much is not enough.
No, too much information versus not enough information. It's like sometimes when it's like so transparent, you can't like really understand anything at all because it's like so much information.
Yeah, true.
I love that one that you just said, Gary. I love all of them, but it's like, how do you know what the facts are when there's so much stuff clouding the clear glass, you know?
Yeah, and then it comes also
Like a trade-off,
to, I suppose we can divide it into two areas of transparency of some organizations, of some businesses, and transparency of people. And since we are in Web3, there is a lot about transparency, how blockchain is transparent. And I feel like it's a great solution for organizations to be, transparent towards everybody who is, investing, supporting them, what they're doing. But then if we follow the path where every person is transparent, as Gary mentioned, then it's too much information. Probably most of it, I don't even care. I don't need it, maybe. And also it's
Look, like what I say is being transparent and being like information are two different things, right? Information, like when we understood the definition of transparency, there was like that one paper, because coming from a country where English is not a primary language, you learn the word transparent when you grow so much. It's like you're in third or fourth class, then you come to when there's a transparent paper that you will use in drawings, right? Because you can see through that. So that's the one thing, like the first initial definition of the transparency you feel out, like when the water is transparent you can see the river bed. So transparency totally means like how much the picture is clear. And information can be like any information, it can be anything.
But information is like what you provide when you're transparent. You provide information, the clear information, like facts.
Yeah,
if
then
you are
it can be
transparent and
clear,
authentic
it can
and
be like clear information. It's like not hiding. But can not hiding be transparent?
yeah, but then we can talk about extents of transparency, I suppose. Like
Yeah, it's like
how far we can go with being transparent.
being transparent.
Because
Actually,
I don't think everything needs to be like, not everything maybe is for public. I can be totally transparent though.
Yeah. Look, when it
actually,
comes to personal stuff. Okay, Gary, please carry on.
actually, it like reminds me like the scope within which we should like really be transparent, right? It's like, for example, it's like, okay, like well, within the scope of the project, we definitely need to be transparent. Outside the scope is like what I actually like had, like what brand of like shampoo I use, like when I shower my hair. There's really no need to be transparent. So we have like define the scope. So which actually brings a very critical question, right? When we define the scope, right? How do we ensure like the scope actually is defined properly in such a way that anyone like looking at the full picture within that scope is well informed of the actual lay of the land? So there's
But
like
you
two
are
parts.
talking about organizations then, yeah, correctly, like maybe not
Actually,
organization.
I would say like You can see it as organization, you can see it as individual. It's like from my perspective, almost like no difference because it's the individuals that's all in the organization, a group of people coming together and decided to operate together, right?
Yeah, but again, the transparency will be like the extent of this transparency will be according to your perspective, how you feel like it's probably important to others. Meanwhile, maybe someone is missing some information about you.
Yeah, it's like from my
I
perspective,
can
it's like,
consider that you are not fully transparent.
do I actually need to be that transparent about my personal life? Probably no one cares. I think like most of the people don't really care unless like there's somehow my like transparency on specific areas of my personal life is going to affect their personal life, right?
Or you become a public person.
Actually, like that is debatable. Right? It's like uh, Justin Bieber, like and he's a public person. Do I really care like what colored underwear he's wearing today? Probably not.
I mean, I guess some people may find it useful. I don't understand it either.
That's
But
true, right?
look at social media. I mean, what kind of stuff is published there, and yet people are watching it and reacting to it?
Yeah. So I guess like regarding like personal transparency, right, then it becomes important if like someone else is relying on me to provide a piece of information with proper integrity so that he can decide how to use his time and resources. That is like important. But it's like okay, if like no one on the universe is like relying on like whether knowing like what color my underwear is like tomorrow to make their decision, then providing the piece of information on the blockchain is not going to benefit anybody at all.
Yeah, but what I think what we are talking here is about the transparency starting with us, maybe in this group. And what I feel is that whether we are aware or not, I think awareness is a big piece of the whole thing. We are constantly broadcasting everything, whether we want to hide it or not. And transparency, we are transparent, we like it or not. And it is how we relate in a way that we can capture if you having a bad day, or this is a simple example. You may be super happy and all of a sudden there's an underlying current of sadness that can be cut because you are cut. Because you are broadcasting that even you like it or not. So, and I think to bring that to the conversation, I think that is the transparency that I always really looking for, because I think that bond us together, bind us together,
Yeah, it's somehow related with this authenticity and like being open. Yeah, lovely summary. Jackie, can you bring this definition? Because I would love to refer to this too.
Oh, that's literally from dictionary.com. But really quickly, Yolanda, that was pretty insightful because something you said, with transparency, this idea that you can't hide. So there's like this inherent ownership of what is or what happens. And then, sometimes people attach personal emotions or personal lenses to ownership of like data or just like factual things or things that don't have those lenses attached to it to begin with. So when we talk about, sorry, I'm going in circles here, but if we talk about transparent data like on a blockchain, and you think about like a company saying like, hey, we're going to be transparent with our employees. And I think as it relates to that definition of made visible by light shining through from behind, there's sort of this understanding that where is the revelation in the transparency coming from? Like what is revealing? How do you ever know you're at like the most transparent, clear level of something? I went everywhere with
Yeah,
that.
I mean, when I thought about transparency, like coming here, I was on a walk, And I thought about the glass too. So it was funny to see this definition. It reminded me. And like you have a glass that is transparent and you see through it. I don't know. I interact with someone and I feel her being, yeah, honest or authentic. That's what we were talking about. But then in relation to blockchain, since it's like kind of raw data and just some, numbers, figures, and how can I really feel the person if I don't interact with her personally? This is a totally different energy. You cannot, I don't feel like I could truly see the person through it. Um, and maybe that's why I don't resonate so well with, especially the personal, like our approach to blockchain. I believe though that organizations should be transparent in what they are doing in regards of, yeah, numbers, for instance, where this money flows. If we are putting some money into foundation, where this money goes, actually, if it's going to some, um, to really serve some good or to some other pockets, etc. But then, yeah, in relation to people, I feel like we won't be able still to feel transparently these people on the other side of blockchain behind the numbers.
Yeah, when blockchain started, like the very idea of blockchain was transparency. Like everybody should know whatever the transaction is happening on the network. So that was the very basic idea of the blockchain when it started. And like the more it evolved, it again fragmented into two sectors, like the public blockchain and the private blockchain. And then came something like Hyperledger came up. So in which the information is only transparent to few set of people. So it all molded, because like if you look at in an organizational perspective, definitely some things should definitely be transparent, okay, like the stats and numbers which are relative to public and anything. But there should be some data that should be private, like if I'm using some app, I don't want that data, like, to be shared all around. Definitely, like, if I'm sharing some videos or photographs there, I just want it to be in my close circle, in my close friends. I don't want it to be public. So that's how it matured in terms of transparency. There's always a thin line. Even the blockchain that was having the very root and the thing mentioned about it to be transparent is was not as further transparent as it is now. It is mutated into other things. And when it comes to persons, then it's people's own choice how much transparent they want. And again, we are transparent very much with one person, and we are not transparent with other person. But as per the human psychology, we tend to lean towards those people who are transparent to us. So that's like we can rely on them at the very hour of need. We can count on the person who's transparent rather than the person who's shady. So
I mean, everything is our projection of this reality. And then we present ourselves to every person probably a little bit different, depending on the person
yeah,
we are talking to. So
yeah.
are we then transparent? Are we honest and authentic or not? Oh,
So
maybe
that
we have
only you
many
can
different
know.
personalities, and it's depending on the person we are talking to. We will switch
Yeah,
then different one. Hmm. But
yeah.
I would love to bring Brian here because he also brought some definition here. Brian, are you with us?
Yeah, how you all doing?
Hi, great to see you. Also great to see you, Sarah and Salim.
I'm just catching
How's
up
it
really
going?
and listening. I'm not sure if I've got anything valuable to say, but yeah, transparency. I mean, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? On one level, transparency, and
You
like
can even, darling, start from reading this definition because on recording we won't have the chat probably.
oh, the Wikipedia one, you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it was just because obviously transparency has physical connotations, like you were discussing with the glass and so on. But I thought this was just a helpful general kind of definition from Wikipedia, which is as an ethic that spans science, engineering, business, and the humanities, transparency is operating in such a way that it is easy for others to see what actions are performed. Transparency implies openness, communication, and accountability. So, I mean, one thing that strikes me that ties into the whole blockchain thing is it would be nice if political campaign fundraising and indeed government procurement and spending was transparent, as in on the blockchain. I think that would go a long way to mitigating a lot of so much of the corruption that I'm sure goes on behind closed doors. So I think generally I see transparency as being having positive connotations like that, although I'm prepared to accept that it may be slightly murkier and more opaque in philosophical terms, shall we say. Yeah.
Would we say then that basically we would expect sort of transparency from those who we trust or who expect from us to be trusted?
Yeah.
It's also like in terms of relationships, like we kind of expect that the person we are with will be transparent, or our friends will be transparent with us.
Yeah.
But also this government that we trusted that will do good for us.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about personal relationships. I think one of the most transparent people in my life was my mother, and that wasn't especially comfortable in the sense that she'd tell you exactly what she was thinking, and you could call that being perfectly transparent. But I wasn't always happy.
It's oversharing.
Yeah. So yeah. Transparency isn't always comfortable. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Yes, that's why there is a term called too much information. So yeah, I mean, I think that transparency is great, and I'm pretty transparent and I'm pretty straightforward. But I know a friend like who isn't always honest, but sometimes he also overshares. Like sometimes, like Tushar said, and I was thinking about it. Like sometimes you have to keep information for yourself. Like he was moving houses, but I mean, so the renter of the house, like really liked him, and they started getting along. But then he started like oversharing and said that in his last house he was robbed. Like okay, so he didn't need to say that, and that probably like cost him the house. Like cost him the opportunity to rent that house. Like I think that in sales as well, that there is something called like speaking too much, like speaking someone out of a deal. Like there is someone speaking someone into a deal. It's like speaking someone out of a deal. And in relationships, I mean, I've seen it in a movie that is realistic. That if you are being honest about everything and transparent about everything, that some people may understand us, but they're probably gonna be upset. Like, okay, so let's just say that I'm with my girlfriend. So that was the scene. A guy with his girlfriend, and who was like, "Oh, this girl is cute. This girl is hot. I like this one." Okay, so he is speaking his mind. He's being transparent, but his girlfriend didn't like it, and eventually got upset. Like and left him. So yeah, everything in moderation.
Okay, that's interesting what you bring up. We definitely decide ourselves how transparent we want to be towards someone. But then what would you say, like when people are very transparent about what they are going through personally in public, and many times with very negative emotions there, and sharing it publicly, which maybe, I don't know, maybe should be kept within or with closest friends more? And then suddenly
Yeah,
it's a, like very, very
yeah,
transparent and public conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I try my best not to judge, and many people tell me a lot of things, but like my closest friend has been, unloading on me like a barrage of thoughts, like about how he doesn't like, like anyone around him, like doesn't like humanity in general, uh, and all that. I mean, I have to. I mean, starting like to have, um. Now I don't know if it's second thoughts or I mean, maybe my attitude, like started to shift around him a bit,
Okay. Then what you
Yeah.
okay, then
Yeah.
now actually you are very transparent with us, sharing
Yeah.
all these things. And how you
Yes.
feel about this?
Okay. So to be honest, okay. So the one who shares things is probably gonna be relieved for saying that, because it's like, it's like unloading, like a load on your shoulders, you know.
And you
I
are
mean, that
doing like giving it to someone else, yes? So like I think it's great
maybe.
what Yolanda wrote here. Yolanda, do you want to unmute yourself, please, and
Yeah.
maybe
Yes, please.
add something because that's beautiful what you wrote.
Well, Thomas Hubel is somebody who I study with him precisely in transparent communication. And he says transparent communication is not just about self expression and me, it is actually about higher awareness of the whole relational field and an opportunity each day to include each other in our communication. So that refers a little bit to what I brought at the beginning, like it is in the moment that you're always broadcasting, and it's an opportunity. It is not about me, it's me feeling you feeling me, right? So when we take that opportunity, there's a lot of things happening, right? What pushes our buttons, normally it is also something that we can pick up from someone else. I don't know, it is that's how I see it, like if we become aware when we are having this conversation and feeling you feeling me, that's pretty interesting what is happening, because the field open, right now we are together and there's a field, and that field has a lot of information, and to bring that into our awareness is pretty nice, because it's an opportunity to grow, to become aware of our blind spots, to become aware of what is happening when you say something. I don't know. That is exactly what
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
interested
it's
in.
wonderful. It reminds me of this glass again, because we have these two people on both sides of it.
Uh-huh.
Jackie also asked like where the light comes from. And since it's everything also about balance, this light probably goes from both sides, and we kind of see how much light we can put on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And we are testing this field that you mentioned, and
Yeah.
see how deeper I can go. And maybe with this group I feel that I can be even more open and put even more light. But at the beginning,
Yeah.
I'm testing, kind of like seeing how much I can expose of
And
myself,
also,
how honest I can be with
yeah, but it's
the other
also
side.
it's very beautiful what you say about the glass, right? Because that glass can be like foggy, or can be blemish in some parts. So becoming aware of that that is information that is in the field, on the field while we are communicating, and is revealed in this process of communication.
Yeah, maybe it's a bit can be a bit foggy on our side. We need to clean it because
Uh-huh.
we may also have this different perception about ourselves.
Uh-huh.
That it's
Yeah,
not clear. We didn't get there yet. Oh
exactly.
gosh, what a deep
Exactly.
thought, guys.
Yeah, I, I mean, I think that transparency or sharing is, like, is either strengthens the relationship with two people, or it can, like, create, like, question marks, or pause marks, like poses, or like, so I mean, it's like we are seeing, like, someone when talks and all that, like, it's like expressing our thoughts, so when we agree, it's like we agree or we don't agree, like, but I mean,
Yeah,
it's a hard process.
yeah, because Salim, sometimes is how I see it is, um, those question marks and those places that I feel that I have been pushed, inside. That is
Yes,
only information. If you can, if we can take that as an information that is coming from the, so there's two things happening, right? This person is telling you something that, all of a sudden created, a push a button inside of you,
yes,
and that is informing you about something about you, and
yes,
also something about the other person. It is like
yes,
in
of
this
course,
communication is not only about me, it is also
about them.
about the other and where
Yes,
are they coming from. That, you know what I mean, it is for me it's an opportunity instead of it is a push.
yeah,
I mean, pushing buttons is hard, is not very nice. What happened
yeah,
inside of us, it's a rejection. And when I feel a
yes,
strong rejection, um I know there's something that is about myself, because there's a strong reaction to it.
yeah. So it's like, when people talk, like, if someone says something that the other guy, like, the other guy might agree or disagree about. He can be, like, he can be like a Democrat, like, it's not like a Democrat, like a diplomat, and says, oh no, like, he's expressing his, like, his counter thoughts in a, in a subtle way, or like in an explosive way, like, I mean, some people can agree, like, can say, yes, I agree to stuff that they don't actually agree on. Like, that could be because, like, they don't wanna, like, rock the boat too hard, or they wanna, like, do like a mirroring, and wanna appease the other guy, like, but when someone, like, challenges someone's beliefs in a conversation, it's like they could be, like, the best case scenario, they could be, like, they're trying to get somewhere, you know like, they are trying to get somewhere, like, let's just say that two people disagree. If they work it together, they can reach common ground, you know if they are both, if they both let their egos aside, like, but if they don't, like, their egos are gonna clash, and their beliefs are gonna clash. I mean, clash and beliefs is all over the place, but I mean, it's the problem with clash and egos. Like, let's just say that there is something that I don't quite agree on, but if someone, like, knows how to deliver the information, he can, like, like, help me see something from a perspective or from an angle that I didn't see before, like that. I mean i mean that's i mean that's something huge that Mark Manson said. I mean, like, sometimes we don't want to be proven wrong. Like, we want to just boost our ego and say, "Oh, you're right. Oh, you're right," and all that.
I think it's like with inner truth, like you have your own truth, I have my own truth, I guess, and then you are transparent to the extent that you believe in your truth. And that's why maybe your glass might be a bit foggy on your side because you didn't realize that it's actually not super clean yet. And well, we're going actually to a little bit off topic with agreeing people, etc. I think everything comes back to this resonance between people. Light
Yes.
is actually also a certain frequency, and then how much we are resonating similarly and we are adjusting to each other, or we simply drop it because we don't believe we want to necessarily be transparent with someone, and
Yeah.
you don't need
I
to
mean, I
share
mean,
everything.
It's like when
yes.
I think about it in any way, what I feel is how much how much we are transparent to our own selves first. That is
Yeah.
like the first thing. and and when we introspect in such on such thing, like the whole essence of say spirituality and humanity totally lies between the fact of us at first being transparent with our own selves. Like we should know where we are. Like
Yeah.
for example, if somebody and like we just make false assumptions and just protect like from being someone else or being somewhere else. Like right now, if I'm in India and I have to start a journey, I have to start right from this place where I am. I can't project myself like, oh, I am in that country and I should start from there. So the first
Yeah.
transparency lies within ourselves, how much we are totally truthful to ourselves. And but when I find like why I feel this, like we us as an entire human race, we are not going to go anywhere. Like we are transiting at a good pace. It's good. Like when somebody asks me why companies are not transparent, why bosses are not transparent, why everybody does that, is like human being is not even transparent, is not even to him or herself, so forget about others. So the first transparency should start from there, and then it's like an ongoing and unending debate on the levels of transparency, be it personal self, be it relationships, be it company, be it anything.
Actually, great point. So we should stop basically the transparency among people, like private people, until we actually are transparent with ourselves first. So again, coming back to ourselves, self-awareness, etc. So maybe let's go back to organizations, because I see on the chat conversation, Gary, Jackie, you wanted to add something in terms of organizations, DAOs maybe. What comes to your mind?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can unmute yourself, Gary.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I think like the whole thing of like transparency in terms of organization is very important, right? Because like when I was like studying like the various like ways like organizations are ran, Toyota has this principle, right? Whenever like a manager comes and complains about like someone else, the no, like an employee comes and complains about someone else, rather than just like receiving like a one-sided like piece of data, and actually the manager will actually like get the other person to come in, so all three people will be in the same room at the same time. And what I observed like began mid of the year when we kind of like went into operation mode on like one of the other projects, I was observing like a large number of like project members are complaining about each other behind back channels, which kind of like wasn't really good, because after a while, like the kind of data you have on one side versus the other side, it's like it becomes skewed, right? Then it's like it starts becoming dysfunctional. So what we like started doing is like, okay, whenever there's a complaint, right? If you want to complain about someone, the person being complained needs to be in the same room as well. So like both perspectives can be presented. The latest case was Jonathan when he came and complained to me privately that, hey, Lars might be a scammer. Like Lars was actually in the channel as well, because like Lars was like performing like some weird behavior in other channels like Jonathan was like managing. So I was like, okay, sure, Lars, are you a scammer? Just remember, like I kind of like stated that in the channel, right? Defend yourself, Jonathan. Please make your case. Yeah, like no more back channels, right? So everyone knows, like when they come to complain to me about someone in the back channel, it's going to land up in the public channel. So might as well bring it up in the public channel and address it. At least like that's like how I see it. And Jackie like has a very interesting perspective of like the role of unions. So I don't know, Jackie, what do you think about like how that because like DAOs are inherently flat. So how does like the practice of unions like get brought over to DAOs? I'm curious to hear your point of view.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this for a long time. So originally, like labor unions were organized around skilled trades. And then we got into actually incorporating labor unions like within a company or like a private company, which is like a different or a government, like a government union. So instead of you being based on uh instead of your organization being based on your skills and like what you bring, it was just that, well, you work for the government, so these are your benefits, this is what you get. So it actually shifted the like everything, really, like the intentions of what, because in trade unions you could work in any company. You know, if you were a printer, you could work at any press house. But then once the unions moved into certain companies, you know, then you could make a contract with that company that, no, your printers have to work here, they're not, you know, non-compete, they can't work somewhere else or something like that. So it's, I think, moving into like the DAO space, like whether DAOs will organize as like a traditional business organization that has like lots of different departments, or will DAOs organize, you know, based around the skills or the trade that you actually have, you know, like who better to represent the technology people than a technology DAO? Who better to represent financial people than a financial DAO? And then do all those sub DAOs relate into, you know, a core DAO? Would that be the actual company or organization? But you know, even just taking it back a little bit, you know, my experience, we had 13 labor unions in the one newspaper that I worked for. So there were all these different contracts. It made getting work done actually pretty messy because, you know, if one department was in contracts, maybe your department couldn't do things until that department had it figured out. So when you think about having all these DAOs and sub DAOs, like timing and rhythm and all that starts to, the non-logical things of just human nature start to bleed in. And like even in that situation you were talking about, Gary, with like two members complaining about one another, you know, well, what do you do when that comes into that, you know, one of those people is an abuse victim or something, and they're not comfortable being publicly out there because they have, you know, so sensitivity training and all these like other things start to come in about how do you handle and be respectful and build people up at the same time. And I think I'll just stop there. I have a lot more going on in my head about all this stuff, but I'll stop there.
Yeah, I'm also very happy, Gary, that you brought it up, because also I felt a bit different about this whole situation. I would probably resolve it totally different way. And now I understand better your point, like about being transparent and like, go ahead, let's do it like super public. Meanwhile, I feel like some things I prefer to do, you know, one-to-one and resolve it apart and not mixing everyone maybe into the conversation, and have honest discussion with this one person that is involved, maybe just two, um, or maybe I'm digesting like how exactly I should talk even to the person, etc. Because yeah, I don't want to, you know, someone to misunderstand me too, and I want to do it properly. Then I put like so many thoughts that it's like crazy going on, and
Yeah,
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 even most recent, like some thoughts. So
yeah,
it's interesting, like you just go and publicly post it, and I think there is probably some balanced solution, and some things that can be actually solved publicly, and we can be transparent among the whole organization, and some that maybe require some most like sensitivity that Jackie also mentioned, and maybe not, don't need to make a big issue out of it, and involve everyone around it, because maybe someone's image is also there, and yeah, then can be some more sensitive issue too. Like not everyone needs to know. So sorry, let's go. Tushar, you raised your hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll just like to add on the organizational structure of transparency. Now, based on what I have understood and seen through working in different organizations and being a consultant for them, like for every layer of employees, be it from the managers to the supervisors or the executives or engineers or trainees, interns, what will happen? The information disparity is there. Like what this layer of, like, even if it's related to organization, if it's related to the same account, the managerial layer will have a different information, and what they will tell the subordinates will something different, right? They will tell what exactly they need them to know, and like top management will have some other directors that won't be there with the lower level thing. So seeing that disparity when the structure of something like as DAOs came up, that was too much liked by the ideas of us tech people, the coders, and like okay, let's let it be transparent. And when we say DAOs are trustless, so we don't mean it's totally trustless. It's like we say we trust the code, not the people. That was the idea behind it. And let's see where it goes. It's like very at an inception phase. And so as the some technical pundit says that DAOs are the future of organization, there won't be any structured organization in the near future. It will be totally go on by DAOs. So let's see and see how it shapes up and happens. Thank you.
I don't know. I feel that I don't know what happened in the situation of Gary, but I think it was a good idea because we need a radical change of we don't want to hurt the feelings of someone. This is not about hurting feelings. This is about growing. This is about making a world, a way of operating a system that is trustworthy, right? In terms of we are here to support each other, not to stab one in the back, because talking about someone on the back, in your back, uh, you know what I mean. I don't think that that is transparent in terms of the fundamentals of whatever the DAO in this case is. So if we are all here to grow, we, as I was saying at the beginning, we all want to feel, we are going to feel our buttons are pushed, obviously, but it's okay. It's okay because it is not how bad we feel. It's about how can we gain, how can we better communicate, how can we better understand each other, and how to solidify the root of whatever DAO we want to create. I love the point of Jackie also, because sometimes the DAO that is on finances has a special way of communicating that might need to be, in a way, pollinizing the rest of the DAOs, but it's how to create a central mission, in which like we are all here for something greater. And obviously there's going to be moments that they're going to be hard, but it's good for our growth.
I would love to respond to this if everyone's cool. Yolanda, you remind me that before we came into this conversation, I was thinking that transparency has this link, to, I just totally lost it. Never mind. Ugh.
Something that comes to my mind, and I wanted to ask you then. We have different energies, and we probably, I don't know if it's cultural things also, or just within us that, as I mentioned, for instance, I would rather go one-to-one, talk to person. Meanwhile, Gary would probably solve it on public chat. Yes.
Actually,
And then,
my
Yeah.
my preferred method would be like if Jonathan just went directly to Lars and just like deal with like the situation instead of coming to like
Yeah.
the person that he perceives as a middleman, me, right? Then
Yeah,
like that
actually,
way,
that
I don't
started
even need to
somewhere
be
else.
involved.
You're correct. It was like he dropped it on the first on the public channel, and that's why
Yes,
you continue this in public. But yeah, that
yes.
was also weird to me. I think
Hmm.
I feel the same. That maybe doing one to one instead of like going into public, and that's what I wanted to mention. Also, maybe if okay, so maybe not you, Gary, you would do it public, or whoever who prefers to do stuff in public. And then I have something to discuss with this person. And should I do it my way that I feel comfortable with, one to one? Or should I adjust to this person and then drop it in public, for instance? Which is like, to be
So
authentic with myself, I prefer to do it like I feel comfortable with, but then should I do it the way this person is doing actually to adjust to their communication style?
actually, the way I see it is like regardless of like whether it's public or private, the complainer and the one being complained should really have like a face to face, right? So
Yes.
if you don't
Yeah.
feel comfortable doing a private face to face, you like bring in a moderator, you bring in the whole group. Just up to you. But make sure like the moderator you brought in is actually like the operating the mode you want. Because if you don't realize, like some moderators are just public by default, some moderators are private by default. So maybe we should say, okay, if you want this person as a moderator, this is the mode. Are you comfortable? Great. If not, find another moderator. So in that regard, I as a moderator should say, okay, this is my default mode. So if you don't want, find like maybe like Aga or maybe find Gary's or find someone else. So as moderators should be, we should be like really transparent about our like status, like default status.
Like a mediator in the end, like, hey guys, okay, what's the case here? Um, yeah, that was an interesting case. Yeah, I think it also comes a bit to this communication styles too, and how we inform people about different things. I also know that some people would be pretty direct. Remember the case I told you last time about my friend telling his wife that she doesn't cook really well. You can be very straightforward, and you are transparent. You tell the truth. On the other side, you try, maybe should try some better wording there and make it
Diplomacy.
yeah, this diplomacy, by the way, yes, something that you mentioned, that you sort of don't want to really hurt this person. You know that maybe she is not at that stage to you know just accept it and move forward and try to do better, but maybe she can take it emotionally, and then you being aware should should maybe adjust the wording there in order to really make the change in the person, or realize some things, but not necessarily going that direct. It's a tricky one.
Well,
On the other
because
side, also, I understand the point, not overthinking and trying all the time to think like how this person would feel, and then
yeah.
going too much around. I also don't want to go to this extent,
Yes.
maybe.
Yes. Yes.
Well, but instead, like in the case of your friend, right? Like, it is like you're not a very good cook. That's not a truth. That is an opinion. It is more truth is the way you cook. I don't like it. That is much more truth
Yeah.
I mean, he said that
than
he doesn't
you're
like
a
what
Yeah.
she
bad
cooked.
cook.
I mean, that was truth. He's truth. He didn't like what she cooked. So, but
Then maybe you should taste her own cooking. Then you can tell us your opinion.
um, yeah,
So
and
I,
then
I
he was surprised that she wasn't happy, and like she should face it. I mean,
yeah.
No,
um,
actually, now that in that scenario, right, it's like it's the problem of like the word good and bad, right? It's like okay, good. What does good really mean, like for you as a good dish? It's like, it might mean something like totally different for me than like you. It's like when you like say this is good or bad, it's like almost just like a no recourse, right? I can't like do anything about it. It's like accept, like okay, your mental model says this is good or bad, but it's like all right, then can you like kind of break it down into something more actionable for me, and I can do something about it.
So, well, if he's aware, then
How about like
he
a
could
rating
bring it
from 1
this
to 10?
way and turn around, like, from my perspective, like something, go around, and not make a statement maybe necessary that it wasn't good.
Actually,
Like,
this like boils
what
down
she
to
understood.
transparency, right?
Yes.
Transparency as in, okay, what does good mean from your perspective? Because like good is like opaque, right? Bad is also
Exactly.
opaque.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
totally.
transparent to my truth. Again, it's my perspective to my truth, and then I'm transparent to the extent I believe in.
Yeah, it's a
Or
mental
like,
construct. It's the way that you have been raised. And your other friend will feel bad because he said that, because there's something behind her that is also, I don't know, that questions her capabilities of being a wife. I'm just getting out there here, like we don't know why we react. Because if you talk to me and you said, I don't like this, I would say, hey, that hurts, but I understand that you don't like it. You know what I mean? It is like when you take it so bad is because there's something underneath you. So how we react to things, it is conditioned by our history in any way, in one side or in another, like even if it's your friend or his wife, for instance, that communication, that for me is not truth. That is not truth. That is an opinion. That is the way I've been raised. Is that true? Is what I was saying, Sanim. Maybe you cook another thing and you don't like it either. It's like it is such a I don't know. It is like I don't see
I know
that
what you
as
mean.
a.
I know what
But
you
it was
mean.
a life case, guys. Everyone can face it.
But I think it's so good to take it really personal, because then we can distill, that the thing. It is so important to take it personal.
I mean, this one
Okay.
is very,
Yeah.
very natural. You can have I don't know, grandma also cooking or someone in the family, and then they ask you if it was good, and what do you answer?
But I think also Jackie was saying very interesting, in terms of morals, right? I'm very interested in
Yeah,
what you had to say, Jackie.
yeah,
I feel like I said so much stuff. I don't know what you're totally. Transparency and more morale management. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about like in an organization. I mean, I was so within that newspaper, I was in the union for a long time, and then I was out of the union. Like I became a supervisor, manager. So I was on both sides of it. And I realized like, I worked with people that had been there for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. And some of those employees never, advanced. They never wanted to. So they came in at one job and they just stayed in one job that whole time. So they didn't actually want more information. Whether they complained about things or not really didn't even matter, because most people didn't even take them seriously. But what would be interesting, I think, is a lot of times upper management would, not reveal certain things because of the reactions that the employees were, bound to have. And even me, like I remember times I was so angry about certain decisions our CFO was making. And then, the older I got and the more I learned about the financial world and things, I was like, oh, okay, he wasn't that horrible person I thought he was. He really was, making the best decisions with the information he had available to him. So I do wonder, in like a completely transparent organization, but I could see, new departments opening up, like information officers, chief information officers, people that are actually appointed to moderate and clarify and, be that employee liaison or whatever. Yeah, it will be
Yeah.
interesting moving forward.
That's interesting. I also thought about it when we have this big organization and we give what we would like to share maybe with employees also some information, but maybe they don't have enough knowledge and understanding of this information, how to put pieces together. Um, I mean, somehow related to education, but not in terms of like system education, but learning, understanding more like that it's not just this piece of information like separate, but it's connected to everything within the organization and how it impacts the whole organization. And maybe that's why it's also limited access there to some information. Also, maybe related with that usually people that are lower in these levels of organizations, they get more emotional. They're more about emotions, complaints, they're kind of like to be in this state and then emotionally also take every information they get.
Yeah, and I think to your point there, Aga, like, so at one point I had this dream that I was going to create one contract for all 13 unions and I was going to solve this problem at our organization. And what it came down to was, how do people want to participate? Like some employees want to come in, they want to work the assembly line, they want to go home. They don't want to think anymore about this job. Some employees want to come in and they want to effectuate change and they want to do things. You can usually tell someone's engagement incentives, whether those are, their personal incentives to, ultimately, I guess, should be reflected in their wages, supposedly. But I think that's what's interesting in the tokenization model is that we actually now can verify engagement and did you actually go through experiences that authenticate you to be a person of knowledge or experience on this specific topic. And I think what'll be interesting too is if the DAOs trust their members to use this space to even, maybe they don't even know what their data is going to reflect back to them yet. Maybe they don't even know what their aptitudes are or what, but if we can actually have those reflection cycles to meet with people and say, hey, it looks like you're gravitating towards these things. Is that what you like? Or, we actually could bake in lots of different types of development.
I'm definitely for this, like, tokenizing your activity and who is more active to be more gratified through it, rewarded. I totally get it. Then just, I thought of also like extreme to visualize if that makes sense. Let's say that we have the centralized organization for the whole country even, and we give everyone like voting right for everything that is happening within the country. And if people have not enough knowledge about particular areas, for example, finance, yes, just to name one, or some other aspects of organization, then they are easily manipulated. And then comes media. Media, if media would be also decentralized and giving like really different perspectives there, which I don't think right now can really happen, then it's these people are going to be easily manipulated, like it's happening right now. And they don't have enough background to, like, we don't have really, like myself, even if I would vote for every particular law that it's new coming, I would need to educate myself really into every detail. So then again, I would need to trust someone who has more knowledge about it to give me some guidance so I can vote for it. Or it would come again to the point that we are assigning someone to vote for us, to handle these cases for us. Because everything
Yeah.
would be about education and media, like information. So basically, also transparency, what's behind.
I mean, I really loved what Jackie said. I mean, that would be especially helpful for people who don't know what they are into. I mean, what they want to do, like in life and all that. Like, let's just say that they are all over the place, but then they're saying, "Oh, you seem to be great in this and this and this. Want to like dive into this stuff?" I mean, that would be amazing. I mean, that would be like
Oh
people.
yes, yes.
Yeah,
I like it
yeah.
too. Like they can get involved maybe in some organizations where we have more like closer relationships, and also can get to know each other better. We see where they are resonating possibly better, and they can try different things. I absolutely agree that it's amazing. Actually, that's what I think that the possibility that DAOs would give. Like we can try different things, experience, and this whole life is about experiencing and maybe not getting stuck only to one job, and trying different things. So I love it.
Yes.
Really,
Very Gary. Yeah.
it's like lately I've been like observing like a whole bunch of like Netflix series and movies that were actually like divide people into like different classes. Whereby, for example, you have like the truth class, the warrior class, the priest class, and whatever class. I was like thinking in terms of
That's
DAOs, right?
divergent.
Yeah. So here's where it becomes interesting, right? If you've been like in a DAO for a while and you keep on contributing to like a specific category of task, then you start accumulating tokens in specific to that task, that category. So then the idea becomes when a proposal comes up and requires voting, that's actually more specific to like say a category versus another, then you get to vote. But since your token class is more directly associated with that, your voting power actually is like say 2x. But if you kind of like belong to the merchant class, then not really like related to you. It's more like a engineering kind of like say proposal or some like whatever proposal. Then your voting rights get like discounted by 50%. It's kind of like something that just popped into my head when I was thinking about it.
Yeah. I mean, there is this movie, if you know it, called Divergent. That they split people in four sections. But the thing is that there are these anomalies, right? That what if people are well-rounded as personalities and skilled? Yeah.
No, it's like
Yeah.
it actually accounts for, right? Because like you'll be like taking on like projects for like say one like category and the other category, and end up your wallet would be containing like multiple different set of tokens with like different varying like weightage. So you are like well-rounded. It doesn't prevent you from just like sticking to one class, isn't it? You're kind of like multi-class because it's all tied back to your wallet, isn't it? And you're doing voting based on that wallet.
Yeah, but you are kind of
Yeah.
specified what is the best area for you. Yolanda, you raised your hand.
Yeah, I
Maybe.
was there well, you guys, I don't know, like dividing. I'm gonna say something really strong, okay? But it's not my intention to hurt anyone. But what I want to say is that for me, it scares me that division, because it becomes a little fascist for.
And you got blocked.
From my point, and
Yeah.
Maybe you wanted to say something too strong. You stopped. But it wasn't me. It wasn't me. It was like universe.
like these ants have personalities, and this thought is came to me in like about productivity and about engagement that being tokenized, because there are a lot of people that they don't want to be productive in the way that we think productivity or engagement I mean, but they're doing these jobs that they don't want to go further because they like. And I don't gonna go to this American I don't remember the name of the movie. It is not about flipping burgers, but there's some jobs that their people are really good at doing that, because they choose that kind of life, and I don't think it's bad. And they are contributing. And what I was saying about the ants is because these ants has personalities. We think that they work a lot and they are always productive, but actually they're ants that they hide and they become lazy. So they hide because they don't want to work that much. And this is nature. What I'm trying to say that how we measure engagement and reward it I don't know. It scares me. You know, right now I'm watching this TV show. Horrible. I mean, horrible because it's very scary. It's called The Handmaid's Tale
Yeah,
or something like that. You know.
yes.
Um, and it's like it's scary that you have your position and you need to be productive. So you're gonna have kids, as many as you have, for the benefit of the society. So I don't know. I think we need to keep thinking deeper in all of this, you know, and um, that's what I wanted to say. Especially like the ants, you know, like I always thought that they were so working and super nice and indestructible in that regard. But when I learned that they hide, do not to work that much, it's pretty cool, you know.
It kind of reminds me of like how unique each of us is, and for example, human design or any other like astrological charts to show how different we are. And it will be probably impossible to really make some truly fair to our capabilities, our energies, how we were born with which skills to create this kind of system. And we would always end up in some boxing people. I don't know. Jackie, you want to follow up on this one? That's what came to my mind.
Yeah, it's related to both what you and Yolanda were saying. So I'm realizing how much experience I actually got for 12 years in that newspaper. But I mean, I've told you guys before, like I was literally on like the production floor, like on the mailroom floor, then the press room floor. I mean, I worked with everybody, blue collar, white collar, it didn't matter. And, you know, when I came away, once I like left and had time to reflect on that entire experience, how honest can people be with themselves about why they show up to work? What does your job do for you? Why are you there? You know, your attitude, your morale, like everything stems from, you know, your drive, like why you're doing this thing. And I think what I'll say this, like at our lowest totem pole of people, you know, these are people that literally the unions, you know, the company wasn't even in a position to fire them. The union didn't even want to defend some of these people anymore. The county certainly didn't want to have to take care of them. So we have members of society that have to be somewhere, no matter how lost they are or whatever. And I think the best approach we can take to, you know, organizing people is giving space for them to choose where they want to participate. I mean, I had employees that I would say, I would rather you go take a coloring book and sit in the break room all day because you do less damage there than you do out here with all of us. So, and they were fine with that. I mean, they didn't take coloring books, but they took lunch all day, and that was fine with me, you know. And we all, I mean, on a blockchain, I think those people don't stand a chance. I mean, what's really going to happen when, you know, and so, you know, obviously unions would be totally resistant to any type of, you know, data tracking and that kind of stuff. But if you say to them up front, listen, even if you just show up here in the times you're supposed to be, and maybe you don't even produce anything, but like, this is what you're going to get. If you want to move up and you want to do other stuff, that's available to you too. But, you know, what is that absolute base layer of like the lowest possible output you could expect from someone?
So again, being transparent with yourself, what you feel like doing and where you feel yourself in the organization too, and being like transparent with yourself, like what are my abilities maybe at the moment. If I want to progress, I want to develop myself and learn new skills, or I'm satisfied with the status quo and how I'm right now, and I prefer to stay in this lower stage and not be super visible to anyone. And of course, there are some people like this, and they are also needed in, I suppose. Um,
You know,
yeah,
reminds
I'm
me of no.
I'm kind of questioning that because if that's really the matter of a person themselves, or the programming that we have simply in this world, and that it's kind of locking these people in this perception that they cannot grow more, or they need to do this, otherwise they lose everything, or they don't have how to provide for the family, and it's some limitations basically in their heads, and they didn't discover yet that they can do more. So again, coming back a bit to the self-awareness, that maybe and it's self-awareness and awareness of what's going on in the world, and how much of different programming was there.
Or like maybe like transparent can be say, hey, it's like some trauma victims. Ask them to like remember like the whole period during the trauma. They kind of like it's just totally blank, right? Basically, like at the biological level, they kind of like already blocked it out. So like transparency in that case is like it's too traumatic. Can't really do it because of defense mechanism. Other times it's like well, you don't even know what I want, right? Or another like scenario is yeah, I kind of like know what I want, but I actually don't see any path that leads me to what I want. So it's like at that point, it's like, okay, do you want to be transparent and say, yeah, I know myself, I'm totally lost, there's no path ahead, I'm just don't know what to do, or just like, fuck it, you know what, just don't think about it too much.
Also, it reminds me that well, this can be the status for now for them. It's this period that they have to go through. It's a cycle. We live in the world of changes, and also showing that, yeah, for the moment, maybe I don't want to occupy myself with too much responsibility and too crazy job and, getting involved in everything. I will do nothing, for instance, and just sit there. And that's the period of my life that I want to experience right now. But it doesn't mean that I have to do it forever. And I don't need to sign a contract that I'm gonna do this forever. And one day I just wake up and I'm like, okay, I can do something else. I can learn maybe a new skill, and maybe I have suddenly different ambitions. But I feel like that's the way I also brought up this programming, that they taught us that maybe we need to choose just one path, specialize ourselves in one thing. Meanwhile, this whole life is about experiencing, and gosh, you can experience so much. So there's still so much to discover. One chapter may close, but you can start so many others. And
I love what you just
also,
said.
and jump into Web3 or something else.
Developing society.
Well, isn't part of it like what do you want to experience and getting clarity on what kind of experience you want to have?
Yeah, and I think that's hard to find, and when you are stuck in this limitations programming that we have. Because I imagine now this kind of person that Jackie referred to, yes, that it's printing something there and like stay there, like do less damage maybe, and they're fine with this, and they feel also good about it, but maybe they still didn't discover like how much more they could potentially do. They didn't discover themselves enough, and they are also stuck in this belief that they are not capable of doing more.
Yes, exactly.
And part of the experience they're having is an experience of limitation.
Yes.
Actually,
So
but not everyone gets to get aware of it. Well, we see like there were a couple of things for awakening us, and I think there will be probably more. I just hope for people to find their paths and like find themselves what they want.
There's no transparency right now. People, well, there is a lot of transparency. I think more and more transparency. And like you guys have heard the idea of disclosure, like disclosing aliens, for example, right? So like if that were to be transparent through everything, then that might change a lot of belief systems, I guess.
I also like now you kind of remind me that, well, the transparency that is now broadcasted on mass media is totally different. Like this shitty transparency, like what color my pants are, that Gary referred in the beginning. That doesn't matter, and some bullshit basically coming there. Meanwhile, what is actually important, what you refer to, for instance, with Allianz, but maybe let's say softer with the system and manipulations in media, etc. This kind of stuff is not going that public. So they are also programming us what transparency would mean and promote themselves as transparent, because I don't know, they show their lives. Meanwhile, that's not what it's important there.
Yeah. Actually, this whole idea of like transparency and like the whole do nothing society thing actually brings like to mind this experience I have on and off, like both at first as like a founder, and then like later like in some of the bigger companies as like a product manager, or like even like within the DAO itself. Right? Sometimes people come, it's like, hey Gary, what next? Then like probably like in the early days, I would like say, yeah, no, let's try to do this, and that. But actually in the back of my mind, it's like, I have no idea. So I'm not being transparent with myself. Like the whole team is like keeping up the morale. Or like nowadays, it's just like, you know what? I'm not seeing clearly yet. Let's just do nothing for now. We wait. I'm sure the universe will present a sign at some point. How important like the whole do nothing state is, right? It's like because you are comfortable doing nothing and being totally transparent about doing nothing, therefore you create the space for the universe to present itself.
I'm still stuck on the name, which makes me smirk. The Do Nothing Society. It's kind of, it's got a nice ring to it, I think.
I think what's interesting is, can you ever really do nothing? Like Yolanda was mentioning, like we're constantly broadcasting. We can't help but be creating. And actually in like the do nothing times, those are the times when we're actually creating, like we're thinking different things than we would be thinking. So I think prioritizing downtime, relaxing, processing. Yeah, like sometimes we have to make space for this. Like we're demanding it at this point. So it's got to happen.
Actually, we were discussing it on Monday, and Tushar was also explaining quite a lot. Like it's pretty hard to really do nothing and not think even like any thought there, because that's still doing something. So we already had this kind of discussion, but well, I, as you mentioned, this kind of being in peace and quiet time is also very important. But it's, I believe, in some balance with everything else. Salim,
I mean,
you raised your hand.
yeah. So about the doing nothing. So I mean, people doing nothing doing nothing has been easier. Like has been easier. Like people can do, like people can consume content all the time. Like they can eat, they can drink, they can consume content and all that. They can consume movies and all that. Like I think the creating part is like has to be more important. Okay, so let's just say, I mean, I resonated with you saying that I'm in a phase right now, and like I want to do all these things. I mean, for a while, I've accumulated like a few sources of passive income, so that can sustain me. So I can, like focus on strategic work and all that. But like I mean, a few days ago, like I participated in a hackathon. So I mean, I was reminded that I was capable of doing amazing things, you know. But maybe sometimes it's like you guys said, it's the limiting belief that we are not capable of doing these things, and that's what's preventing us from actually doing them.
I want to add the whole idea of doing nothing. Every morning I wake up and the first thing I strive to do is to do nothing for 1 hour. It is so hard. It's like the mind refuses to stop doing nothing. It's like to actually do nothing. It always tries to do something. And it's like, dude, just do nothing. Come back to the breath. Please stop thinking,
And I imagine with you, Gary, that you constantly analyze stuff, how difficult it can be. I feel the same.
Yes.
I think we share the same gate there in human design with like over analyzing stuff. So I know.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I think that we drown ourselves with social media feed because we distract ourselves from like over analyzing. Like it's like a friend and I were talking that we are distracting ourselves just to like to stay away from our thoughts. Like sometimes us being alone with our thoughts is a scary place to be. You know, like
I like it.
that's what.
I made I made friends with myself, and I like it now more
Yeah,
and more. But actually, about transparency, you remind me about one more thing, that it's actually a thing of projectors apparently too.
yeah,
I mean, some part of projectors, I believe, like without inner authority, where I would need to talk to someone to resonate with the person, and I'm like sharing my thoughts, even the craziest ones, with
yes,
the people I really trust, and those can be different ones, and also like analyzing what's happening in my life. And then I realized that, yeah, maybe for some people it was overwhelming, like you mentioned, Salim, like someone is sharing too much with me. But it helped me also to understand, well, first transparent towards myself, that I need this kind of people around me who would be able to listen to all the crazy stuff that is going on with my head, so I can kind of organize through them my thoughts. That was
yes,
the craziest part. And I, when I talk to new people that I treat as my friends and we discuss these things, I try to always, I mention it, that I may talk all different stuff, and it's nothing bad that I mean behind, and it's not about talking about particular person or something, but it's me analyzing my whole situation, my whole experience, and that has nothing, no bad intentions behind, but I need to clarify it. For instance, I learned that I need to clarify because otherwise it would be some maybe messy stuff around. And yeah, and then I'm maybe more transparent with some friends, for instance, and maybe that's the case also of your friend, and maybe he needs someone to talk through some deeper thoughts there.
yeah, yeah. So I think of myself in my, like I have a side where I always like, like I'm always straight to the point, and I say them in a way that might hurt people's feelings. Like I'm like sometimes when I express my feelings, I'm like the Hulk. Like that's why sometimes I try, like to add some diplomacy to my thoughts, and that, like I wanted to stop hurting people, like with the way I speak. That's why I try to become like more diplomatic and more eloquent. Like it's like Bruce Banner when he turned to Hulk, he tried so hard to become like Professor Hulk. That's why I sometimes, like I seem like overly, like eloquent and overly, like explaining all that. Like it's like it's because I'm trying to convey my thoughts without hurting people's feelings, and it's getting increasingly difficult because it's sometimes like walking on eggshells.
Salim, you gotta embrace the darkness. You gotta just be who you are. However people take it, that how people receive what you put out. I mean, that can be data for you to grow, but it's also data for them to grow. So don't put so much pressure on yourself.
Yeah, that's why when I tell people that if you want me to unleash the beast, I will, because I might hurt some feelings, because I'm diplomatic most of the time.
Beast tokens. Every time someone unleashes the beast, how many tokens?
I think we need to have the do nothing token as well,
But
Earning a do
how
nothing
can you
token.
distribute it if you do nothing?
Yes, that is a that is a contradictory
You
talking.
cannot even do it mentally because then you do something.
No, it's like someone else observe you doing nothing and gives you that token. You don't earn it yourself. You get like gifted
Yeah.
that.
But you shouldn't be observed too.
Yeah, that's true.
I love you guys. This is like, oh my god. Okay, so we go back to organizations or something because we got to
Okay, so I
have some
think that
conclusion about organizations and their transparency.
yeah, I think Jackie once mentioned something that I wanted to talk about. Okay, so this is going to be like a real scenario. So let's just say that an employee in a DAO wanted to apply to another company. Okay, so uh, the like the management, like saw that he's applying to another company. So, like transparency can be, like it said, a double-edged sword. So if the company, like knew how to handle things, they might, like intercept him from jumping overboard. Like them saying, "Oh, what do you need? Are you feeling good? Are you happy with us?" Like some people, like want more money. Sometimes some people want more stability, more flexibility, like wants the workplace to be less toxic, you know like if the management can provide that, they'll probably, like keep the guy longer. Okay, so let's just say that I'm working remotely with a company, and I'm telling the company, like I want to relocate. And they promised to relocate, but they didn't. Like that could be a reason for someone, like wanting to jump ships. And also, it's gonna be like the other way around. Like if the company wanted like to fire someone, like they are seeing the data, the performance data, it's the KPIs of someone. Like they can tell him like that, are you feeling okay? Are you good? Because your numbers have like have dropped. Are you okay? Do you need support and all that? And like yeah, so HR can like HR can be helpful in that situation. Except like, so in my opinion, the HR should be with the people, not with the company. Not with the owners. Like the HR should fight the managers. Should, like they have to have the employees' best interest in mind. Not the other way around. Otherwise, things are fucked.
Yes. Well, we have gotten to a point where we
No,
are
when,
the human resources. So I'll just say really quickly, Gary, I'll just jump in. Oh, I've lost it again. Sorry. Never mind.
It's
I feel
okay.
like there is a lot of shoots for others. Like,
Oh, wait, you know what? Really quick. I got
oh,
it. Sorry. Um,
Yeah.
well, what you're saying, Salim, in the startup world, we always plan exits, right? So why
Yeah.
can't we have exit procedures for employees? Like there are certain
Yes.
people I would have 100% worked with to get them placed somewhere else. And, also in a DAO, that could be the strength of being on a blockchain network. What if I earned a lot of tokens that were, like Polygon based or something, and I could actually go to another DAO and maybe transfer some of that, or those two DAOs could work it out and talk
Oh my
about,
God, that would be amazing.
yeah.
actually, that's like what we've been exploring with like Wasio. It's like, hey, yeah, like a whole bunch of members in this network that actually probably have skill sets like for what you need to get like your project off the ground. Maybe we can like establish an exchange rate. There's like one way of thinking about it. And then like regarding like the entry and exit of employees, like that makes sense in the traditional sense, but in the DAO it's like permissionless, right? You want to go hunt for a bounty in this DAO, help yourself. You want to take a break, help yourself. And it's like if you can like earn like whatever bounty, and it's like basically like right now we can like already transition to like the DWorks bounty system. It's like it's all like recorded on the blockchain, like whatever bounty you hunted. So your track record is literally transparent from that point forward. And if you kind of like want to transfer it over, it's like, yeah, some DAO members from their DAO can just come and look at this chain and say, oh, Aga and Jackie like did this bunch of stuff in this DAO, right? And this is the amount of tokens they earn for this. It's all there. It's easily transferable from one DAO to the next. Before it was like on the Google sheet. Now we're kind of like slowly migrating everything over to DWorks. So I think it's like, yeah, I think the moving forward is going to be like even more and more cleaner, which is nice.
I think the first point that comes to my mind is that, every organization is basically people, and understanding people, understanding, well, we can move on. We don't need to, as I said, it's part of the programming that we need to stay with one company forever. But like companies, so people behind should also understand that's like in cycles. They are there, and maybe they need to move forward, and it's for their good, for their self-development. And I wouldn't like to keep someone like in force or different incentives just to stay here and be unhappy actually in the end.
Yes.
Every time I had someone within like working with me, I would have this honest talks with trying to figure out what they really want. And if that was something else than being with my project, I was like happy to help them, like as Jackie mentioned, find jobs somewhere else, connect them with someone that they could actually fulfill themselves. And understanding this helps a lot. Like people, ourselves, that we probably need more experiences in our lives and have cycles, new chapters. It's exciting, it's great, and we don't need to necessarily, destroy bridges behind, and just be more as understandable towards each other, and also not blame some, I don't know, HR people or whatever. Those are also people, and I don't like to put also on their shoulders like every possible conflict or problem of people that they have maybe within themselves. It's also quite a
Actually,
lot.
it brings
I
to
have
mind.
HR background, by the way, too, so maybe that's why I'm more sensitive to this one.
It brings to mind this experience I've been having in this city, right? It's like, whoa, the folks here are like really welcoming, right? After like the whole filming thingy, like they're like saying, Gary, do you really have to go? We really don't want you to go. Please like stick around. I was like saying, I would love to, but I'm a seasonal person, right? It's like right now I'm like looking at the weather. Weather's good, I'll stick around. But come Thursday, the weather's gonna suck. I really don't want to be around. I'll promise to pop by like next spring. Like even those folks in like Slap City, when they realized I was like living when the summer was like coming, they say, dude, you need to stick around, man. We like really like you around a lot. I was like, I'll come back like next winter. So it's kind of like this, right? Smooth flowing almost.
And it
I
comes
mean,
back to these contracts, guys, that we were talking about. How can you really dedicate yourself and tell what the future will be? Yes, I'm gonna stay forever in this company. So undefined contract, like I'm staying here. No, maybe in I don't know, 2 years I decide for different challenge in my life. And I cannot. I mean, I feel like people sometimes feel like forced from within, like through this programming, probably to stay with a safe job. Yes, and they don't want to move forward for this new chapter, maybe. And some things around us, usually, let's tell him that, as you mentioned, that maybe someone doesn't feel good in that particular environment. It's something for them to digest, because maybe this happens for a reason. So they change their path, and there is something else for them, something better waiting. So like changing the mindset from looking like what others should do around us and how others should adjust and do things for us and come to us and help us, into, well, this may be a sign for me, because this is projection of myself. So if I'm not happy there, maybe that's not what I wanted to do in my life. Maybe it's totally different and I forgot about it. And coming back to myself and having this transparency towards myself in the mirror and under some sort of glass and put light on yourself. Hey, I want to do something else. Gosh,
I think I think that's happening, right? Like the whole great resignation thing is
yeah.
kind of to do with that, right? And I think it also has to do with like we have these check boxes of things that we think will make us happy, and most of that is we from a very young age we either see our parents doing it or we saw it on television, or and then we get those things that we think will make us happy, and maybe we're not still happy, and so then we're kind of like, oh shit, now what?
Yeah, again, this programming, it's all the external programming. We don't understand like the programming within. And
Yeah, and the villainization of saying I'm bored of this, like, so I've been doing this for over a year or so, and I want to do something else. I like, what do you mean you want to do something else? Go back to your work. I'm like, what the fuck?
I mean, definitely one thing I learned is like I'm not focusing on changing others and changing what I can do within myself, or I change the environment. It's not what's resonating with me. I'm going somewhere else. And I'm not going to count and try to force everyone into my idea, into my concept. Maybe they have different path. They're somewhere else. It's not, I'm not taking over their consciousness. I'm not forcing anyone into believing me or whatever I believe. Yeah. And this way I found you guys, for instance. Yeah.
Mhm.
I feel
Yay.
very good with this.
And also we got to talk about, I mean, the money aspect, right? I think a lot of people have a job because of the money that it will provide to then pay for their house and their food and their car. And so that's like a part, like in the DAO, for example, Gary, like I'm not sure how somebody would interact with TrueSight DAO and pay for their home and their car, for example.
Definitely not now. That's true.
Right.
Totally transparent about it. It's kind of like if you have like very
True side.
sausage passionate about this, go for it.
And I think that's where our heart is. And I think that the house and car thing has been financialized and turned into paper that's been sold somewhere else, and for the benefit of like exponential growth for certain people. So it's like if we unravel that backwards, then we're all going to want to be in DAOs for sure. And then we don't have to pay for the mortgage for the 30 years and double the interest, double the cost of stuff, like all that is kind of ass backwards, you know?
It's like if you take this idea and you like tell it, explain it to our hunter gatherer ancestors, and they'll look at you as like,
Yeah.
what is this alien life form?
Totally.
What the fuck?
And why? Because there wasn't transparency, and because there was sort of like a want for more, like a want for
Yes.
more and more and more and more and more and more. And so we got that, which is cool. And so now maybe there's a want for less.
It's
Yes.
like after moving into the cars, like since the space like available is like already limited, so whatever you put in needs to be absolutely critical essential. Then you start thinking, well, I can't really acquire any physical stuff, so well, just acquire food, fuel, experiences, and that's kind of like about it, right? And then like once you constrain yourself like that, no mortgage to pay, no rent to pay, literally nothing much to pay. Like literally like just like yesterday after like the bump in like the Netflix like share price, all my expenses for the past 6 months all paid off because like in the first place there's like not much expenses to begin with.
Yeah, the contradiction in what you're saying is though, right? Because the stock market is also part of that financialization. So it's part of the mortgages and it's part of the separation where like the Fed hits the button, prints the money, calls up the wirehouses, says put it in the Coca-Cola. Warren Buffett tells his shareholders, we're buying Coke, puts his hat on, gets some TV, and it's like all tied in together. It's very like incestuous that way, and
It's like all tangled together, right? And then
yeah.
meanwhile,
So
I'm trying to experiment how to like untangle that. All right,
the unraveling, yeah. How do we unravel it?
how do I get resources directly from the land? Okay, BLM, that's great. Okay, on like the BLM land, there's like free food, help yourself. If you know how to like read and identify the plants, great, eat them, right? If you know how to catch the fish, great, catch them. If you got a rifle, bring down the moose, you're done for all winter, great, go for it. Then it's like how to kind of like take whatever like system you're stuck with, which is kind of like the matrix. It's like, okay, how do I construct my red pill, right? So meanwhile, it's like, okay, this part is like kind of like minimizing it, but meanwhile constructing that red pill and then just dropping off the grid.
And for people who don't want to travel in their car, we'll need some sort of like, I don't know if it's 3D printed houses, or they'll need to be some sort of like other way to have a home.
That's true. It's like a commune then, huh? That's why I was like saying, hey, maybe at some point people should be able to just like move from like one like commune to the next. Just like don't really have to pay rent because of free access to that, and just contribute muscles for like say growing food or maintaining some equipment, and then have yourself man free to stay.
I like that. I think a lot of things can come to us outside of the money system. Like a lot of our basic needs can be fulfilled outside of the money system. And I think the more that people believe that, they have a belief system that matches that, I think that's when we'll see the money system fall away.
Yeah. For example, like the water supply is like, hey, I just like parked by the cemetery, and the neighbor came up. It's like, oh, by the way, if you need water, there's like a spigot outside there. Really happens.
Exactly.
It's like, whoa,
Yeah. And
that was powerful, man.
probably the more we talk about how things come to us without money, could be an interesting experiment to spread that synchronicity, like you described it, or truth, really.
Or like past like week, literally, I haven't been paying for dinner at all, man. It's like okay, let's go and like have some fun. What folks have to say, and like let's see what they need for the movie, and then next thing you know, just go in like, what food do you want? Like this, and that. Okay, great. Basically it's just off the grid, right? It's not even in the financial system at all. Just like being present, it's just like contributing some stuff, and it's like, okay, great, dinner's paid for, don't have to worry about dinner.
Okay, guys,
Yeah.
I wanted to go back a bit to the topic of transparency, because I see like we go back to different topics that, well, we already discussed it actually, all our different experiences with when we were talking about gift economy, for instance, and maybe we will have also another call on this one. But something that comes also to my mind, and we are almost 2 hours, so I just wanted to bring it up regarding this transparency and organizations. How do you feel, guys? We spoke about some organizations that definitely are like transparently saying that they're doing something good, and well, they should be transparent in what they are actually doing there behind. Some of the organizations like DAOs want to be transparent with their mission, and great, they go openly. But is there a case for absolutely every organization? So basically, like community to some need that they would need to be publicly transparent, or this transparency is actually, as I actually mentioned before, towards people that we trust and trust in us.
So I will say on one hand, like I know on the supply chain side, a lot of the private blockchains, the purpose of that is because of like the sheer amount of transactions that are happening. Like I think it gets into like how quickly it can happen. And then also, I mean, I think it depends on like what do people want to do with the data? Like if it's public or if it's private, like who is doing the things with it, because that will probably indicate whether it needs to be public or private.
Yeah, I'm even questioning if every organization would need to be really that transparent, even in terms of who is creating it. Bitcoin, we don't even know who actually created it, yet it is decentralized now. Well, we know probably who is now minting, etc., or who, I mean, more or less, who owns it, with KYC, maybe even more. Or some people have this information. Yet, is everything needs to be like totally transparent? Or maybe for safety reasons, not necessary. That's what comes to my mind.
I mean, like it said, not everything should be transparent. I mean, like, how can I say it? Like, do people, like, so people, like take showers, like behind curtains. So if it's gonna be like 100%, like transparency, would they want to take the curtain off?
Oh, Salim,
Like,
Salim, please. I'm coming to organizations, not personal showers.
not okay.
Let's talk
I'm
that
not
we don't take
the,
shower together.
the it's a metaphor. It's a metaphor. Okay, it's a metaphor.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so
So can you
so
bring some example of
okay,
organization
so
that you have in mind that maybe not everything should be public?
yeah, I mean the financial data. Okay, so also the financial data is like a double-edged sword. So if employees want higher salaries, I mean the company can show them, like the financial records. I mean, like as a company, we're not making that much money. So if we want to raise salaries to everyone, we're gonna be like we're gonna be in the minus. You know that's why. That's why companies sometimes like lay off people. I mean, it's hard, but it needs to happen. I mean, but sometimes when it comes like to laying off people, and it's been done in movies. I don't know if it's been done in real life. Like there was like a reduction or like cutbacks in payments. So people, like can stay. The whole team can stay. And I mean, I remember like one guy who like, okay, so who put like his ego aside and took like a large pay cut. So he doesn't like fire people, but when things, like they were going in like a bear market in their company, but when things started to happen, like they were like, how do I say it? Like things were back like, like tenfold. You know, and people, like, and that develops loyalty. So when transparency, so when the company is transparent again, the people will have higher loyalties to their company. But it's not always like that. I mean,
I'm okay, Salim. Let's cut off from what you experienced so far. What's bad, like how you feel it should look like. Okay, let's focus on solutions there, because I feel like a lot of like these different hard experiences you have. I think based on them we can analyze what could be done better. So, what would be your solution that you would feel like how it should be done?
I
What
mean,
should not
yeah,
be maybe transparent, because that was the question.
yeah. I mean, just like in a DAO, I mean, the transparency of like of the money of the money circulation and the decision making. I'm like, we're gonna make this decision. I mean, like we should like vote on it. Like, I mean,
We are not
sometimes
actually
also,
for DAO, because DAO would mean that we everyone like can vote for it, so should have the same information about the also
yeah,
financial
financial information. Yeah, but
aspects.
yeah, I mean, sometimes democracy isn't always the best option, like it's been discussed before.
Interesting that you brought up salaries, because there is a
Yeah.
big conversation, or like for some time, regarding equality of salaries between different groups, especially women, men, also between different countries, and I think that's also touching many of us. Um, and then yeah, we don't know really what are the salaries of each groups yet. For example, women and men are doing the same job. Men are paid better, women are not. And sometimes they are actually even doing more than guys. I experienced myself among many women. So then companies should be
Mm.
transparent about it, or like this organization.
I mean,
Yeah, if there was a transparency of background and of skill and experience and of the work, I mean, if women, okay, so it's mostly like we talked about last time. Probably like men have higher experiences and go to better schools, but if they are like equal in the education and in the experience,
Yes, that's
like
what we
and
are comparing here. That's what was
yeah,
compared
yeah,
in
yeah,
the companies.
yeah, of course, if they are the same, they should be paid the same, you know
Yeah, but if there is no
it's a
transparency, we
no-brainer
don't
for me.
know. But we don't know if there is no transparency.
Yeah,
So, well, the
of
solution of
course,
DAO is that we know for each task how much of tokens is assigned to a person, and it doesn't matter actually what gender you are, from which country whatsoever.
of course, yeah, definitely.
I wonder though, like, how do we tokenize things that are important to organizations that are like unseen in a way? Like if you have someone in your organization that, like, when they're around, other people are productive, maybe because they're so social or they're so happy or whatever, but maybe they don't get as much work done because they're kind of busy being a social butterfly or something, or being a communicator. Um, I mean, how would we, yeah, how would we like measure what they do?
I mean,
See
yeah,
this.
And that's
yeah,
something that actually
yeah,
DAOs
go ahead.
also respond, no? Because there are this kind of tasks like of being this connector too. At least what I see in Gary's too. Like he's also rewarding
Yeah.
people for connecting, for bringing someone new, for
Mhm.
interacting, and I think maybe
So,
yeah,
this is where it becomes interesting, right? The lines that you see in the rubric, most of them are not actually contributed by me. It's like the active members themselves, they're given like editing rights. It's like saying, kind of like already like give editing rights to Aga and Mata. It's like since they kind of like really experienced with like community building, it's like, hey, when you feel comfortable, when you feel like it, whatever in your mental model of actions that you really think brings value from the community building perspective, please like align them in the rubric and then like associate them with like the number of governance tokens that should be awarded. The only constraint is make sure no single line item is more than 5,000 governance tokens, because like anything beyond that is like doesn't really make sense from a risk like management perspective.
Yeah, so I read a very interesting article on Medium about being a genius or being a butterfly. So it's like sometimes genius people, have amazing ideas, but they don't know how to communicate it well, or they don't know how to spread it. You know, that's where social butterflies come in. Like and it's sometimes about personal branding. Okay, so like let's just say that you are the best like blockchain developer that no one has ever heard of. You're not gonna get clients, you're not gonna get hired because, or let's just say that you have made a breakthrough invention that also no one has ever heard of. So yeah, we need like the social butterflies so they can promote the invention and promote like to sell it and promote it.
is it really our task or their task to believe in themselves more?
It's a win-win,
It
I
looks
think.
like, yeah. I mean, you talk to different people and you try. For instance, when I talk to different people, I try to see what's behind, what are their skills, etc. But um, it's their work in the end. If they start believing in themselves, if they grow the skills, if they go out, etc., I cannot put it on my shoulders what is in their path. And I think like there is a lot of like in what you are saying, Salim, what we should do towards like to save others and help them and do some, it's their consciousness. If they don't do anything about it, it's not our responsibility. I think we should focus more on what we can do with ourselves. Also, maybe awakening them, helping them discover, like showing it. But in the end, it will be their work too. So we can give an opportunity by, for example, putting in this reward system, this kind of tasks, yes, that are promoting this behavior because we see value behind it and behind the skills. But if the person catches it, it's up to them. We give this opportunity to them. But if they don't get into DAO, if they don't start doing actually something, well, we cannot force them really.
Egg, I think, and Salim, like what you're saying both here, like it opens conversation for like an interesting relationship between a social butterfly that would be maybe someone who maybe they're not the most quote productive person on paper, but if they could hook up with someone who's like an introverted technical person and actually develop with each other, like the social butterfly may feel more productive because the technical person is actually starting to like come out of their shell or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
Exactly.
But we are, what we can do actually, it's what I said, like we appreciate it and we put it on that table. Like we say this kind of interaction, someone to be connector is important, to be rewarded. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of like incorporating coaching. I mean, because everywhere I've worked, there was never like a coach. There were counselors. There were people you could like, talk to if your life got so wrecked that you weren't coming back from it or whatever. But we didn't have like, weekly check-ins or like weekly. Like I think that would be a whole new part of a company that should be sort of built in now.
Yeah, Gary, you wanted to add something, please.
I don't know. I totally forgot what I was trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we can do, because I would like to focus on solutions that we can actually maybe implement here. It's to open ourselves to help others to discover themselves and do what they really want to feel like, empower them. But then, yeah, the rest will be also on their side. Yeah, and I appreciate more mentorship. And I see now how important it is to have someone, and by the way, someone who you can be transparent with. And you can really share some, because it really goes not only professional, it also goes many times very personal. So someone who you can trust, because everything is related to something else, and what you are facing in even in your career is related to yourself, which is like personal.
Yeah, I remember like what I was trying to share, right? About like the social butterfly and the builder.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing, right? It's like ever since kind of like transition into this, like I don't know, it's like this like position. It's like you have people coming to me actually like sharing like very very technical stuff about their project, and I can like sit there like even like engineer like by training myself, I can sit there listening to that person for 30 minutes talking about his project, but at the end of the day, I still have no idea what he's actually like talking about, And then now I was like being on both sides, I kind of like start to understand. It's like there's this thing called the tragedy of the specialist. If you're
Yes.
kind of like already like so far down the rabbit hole and you try to communicate from that rabbit hole to a person that hasn't stepped in yet, good luck trying. And that's where like the social butterfly becomes important, right? It's like, okay, you're giving me a whole bunch of like stuff. How would the average person actually understand what this is, right? Then maybe
Yeah.
like, you know what, 99% of all the details you shared with me totally irrelevant. Just take that 1%, construct into a clean, nice narrative, and just say, hey, you have this problem. If you have this problem, this is the solution. It's like, the average 99% of the person actually gets it. Basically you're taking like all the data and kind of like streamlining it into like something that can be understood.
And
Otherwise, like
providing
say,
context.
all right, yeah, it's like, hey, would you like to buy this piece of machine, right? That has a screen that has like this 60 plus like things that you can tap on, that actually has this thing that you can like kind of like move your fingers on and move this like thing on the screen that moves around, and then you can stick something in that you can like charge like on like this power socket, and sometimes when you type stuff and you click a button, it kind of like stores like whatever you typed. That's how an engineer will explain to you what a MacBook is, right? And then you have like someone on the marketing side, right? This is a MacBook. Whatever you need to do in your work, just use it and it solves your problem.
It's a little interesting because it comes back to transparency, right? There's like those two people with two different levels of understanding of how something works. And like this person's being super transparent and can sell nobody on their idea. And this person's being a little less transparent and can sell everybody on the idea.
I'm not sure if it's related to.
It's like there was like a campaign.
To transparency itself. I'm not sure if I would connect it directly with transparency or rather like feeling others. Now it reminds me of like, for instance, human design or any other of these tools, when some people have just open some centers, especially the communication ones, so throat, and they would feel others and adjust to their communication way.
That's a nice way to put it.
Yeah, and it's like that's why understanding this human design actually, I heard that in corporates they actually use it, but behind the scenes they are not like transparent, by the way, about it, because they have data of people, so they know. Also, they were checking their human designs, and they could also see it like on some corporates. That really helps to build great teams, by the way. And but I would not use it like without someone's awareness first of it, because I think we first should be aware of our own like skills, energies, and how we can use them for benefit of the community. Because separately, yeah, we can do some things, but when we connect, it's like we have all the pieces there and complement each other, and then we can really build something great.
Yes.
Yeah,
Like speaking of building something great, right? Like last week, like remember we kind of like did the LinkedIn post where we collected a whole bunch of like qualitative inputs. There's like a whole bunch of people surfacing their actual problems they experience, and there's like a subset of people that's like surfacing like the solutions they kind of like think that people are actually experiencing, and then they kind of like read through like some of the solutions being described, right? It's like, okay, I see like a lot of blockchain, but it's like, I was like, okay, so what is the solution about, right? And I see like the problem being surfaced. Okay, those are very clear and apparent, and then like look at what's like being surfaced on the solution side. It's like, it's kind of like a mismatch, It's like a lot of like the things that's being surfaced is like, does it actually like address the problem that's like being described over here? It's like from my perspective, when I kind of literally comb through line by line, I like start seeing like this disconnect that's like really like fascinating to observe.
Can you go into that more, Gary? Like, what is the disconnect you see? Just interested in knowing.
It's like, for example, like Rick, he was like talking about like how okay, we like should like kind of have a blockchain to your identity like on the blockchain, and then like when you like look at, say, for example, how that actually addresses like, say, hey Jackie, your personality is being like hijacked and put on some website, right? And then you look at that, it's like, okay, where's the disconnect? Or like when I say, hey, I'm being like this like fraudulent NFTs from like all those like other places, and then like for example, like someone like saying, hey, creating like fake accounts of me on LinkedIn. Then you look at all those like problems, and you look at the solutions. Like, okay, blockchain is a solution. You establish your identity with that. But we like think through like the user experience piece, right? It's like saying, how would that user experience feel like, right? And you kind of like try to shove this blockchain in. The connection is not clear. You see what I'm like kind of like getting at when I look at the problem solution space. That's why I like kept on saying, let's not dive into the solution side first. Like let's look the problem and like surface all the solution and see where the gap is, right? The gap is like where it's like interesting. Like when they come up with like solutions, there's a bunch of assumptions, and I'm not sure like the original assumptions of like some of the solutions like that surface is actually like spot on to like the problem in the space.
I noticed a lot of like influencers kind of responded to that too. And I thought about this, like, it takes a while to get that blue check mark if you're not like a huge influencer. Like, I don't have tens of thousands of followers anywhere. So, like, I can't get a blue check mark on Twitter or whatever. And it's almost like the system currently is designed now that you have to fight through an entire period where people are going to be ripping you off just to hopefully cross the threshold of like earning the check mark or whatever. So I think, I know we're not talking solutions yet, but for me at least, I think just a start is if something verified that I'm me, and I could at least, if it's brought to my attention, I can at least go back to like, well, no, this is like the verified thing. Like just starting there, would probably be good.
It's like after combing through that, right? What is the pain point is this. I imagine a content creator, or I'm like an advisor, or I'm kind of like a project leader. I really want to spend like the bulk of my focusing on building the project, or it's like kind of giving the proper advice, or kind of creating the content that I believe is going to benefit the community. I don't want to like be forced to waste like increasing amounts of my time monitoring the environment to see like people kind of like hijacking my identity for some nefarious it's like neat ends, right? So it's pulling value away. I think that's like the core problem. And after kind of like looking through all the inputs, I think that is the problem we're going after.
That reminds me of like Credit Karma, how like they'll just take care of certain things for you. Like that, like I remember getting an email one time. They were like, "Hey, we saw this thing was happening, so we shut it down." And I was like, "Thanks, Credit Karma." Like you just did it in the background of my life.
Yeah, right. It can, and then like I would imagine like, okay, there should be like some transparency. Okay, who surfaced this? Because like I saw like Gwendolyn's behavior. It's like, hey, someone like did this like third time, like fourth time this quarter, someone created like a fake LinkedIn account of me. I was like, oh, okay. So I asked her, how do you actually find out about this? Oh, my supporter is actually like talking about it. So it's kind of like a decentralized credit karma system is like happening, right? So we should actually incentivize like that kind of behavior because it's already there.
Isn't it coming back also to the topic where we share and we are transparent with our content around people that we trust, and we trust each other? Because on LinkedIn or anything like this, it's very public, and we don't know people there. There are people also who have bad intentions. But creating a safe space where we build a trust around, I think that's something that constantly comes to my mind. And people who are in there, we can trust each other, and then we can be transparent and share openly, like whatever we feel like.
And then actually brings me to the whole idea of like identity on blockchain. It's like when I like see what the natural behavior out there is, your identity is like established by the people that actually already know you and interacted with you via that account. I think that's kind of like the social proofing. Right? It's like if someone comes up with a new hijack your identity, the neural network will actually know that's a fake account. Right? So from my perspective, that is kind of like almost like basically that's the natural behavior. We should just like kind of map that back into like whatever solution is going to be. It's almost at this point, it's like once you kind of like, my perspective is once you dive deep enough into the problem space and understand like the behavioral dynamics there, the solution just like becomes like apparent, whether like whatever like technology you throw in there is like the shape is kind of clear. It just like self-defines itself.
Interesting that you bring up this ID topic. I think it's interesting also for me, because at this stage, the only solution would be that this ID verification would be through some central, probably governments indicating it, and that's something I don't really trust, because again, they're like keeping something. Otherwise, if something can be that easily hacked, as what's happening right now, and someone can take over your identity, that's even worse. I'm not sure if that we are ready for it, or we can trust trust it.
It actually, this thing about identity brings me back to this, like I think this like Greek philosophy they kind of like read. When you are alone by yourself in the middle of desert, not interacting with anyone at all, you technically have zero identity. You know? Your identity is established through your interactions with the people around you. So it's like, wow, that's kind of like the natural like phenomenon behavior is. So rather than like having some government tell you who you are, like should be like your friends or the people you interact with on the daily basis telling you who you are. It's like more like, hey, to us, Gary means da 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 because when I da 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 da, you know. And then it's like, okay, then in that case, like forget about the central government. It's more like the identity is really decentralized to like who you're actually interfacing with. Like probably like halfway around the world, those people that you're not interfacing with, their identity doesn't even matter enough. To them, like you might as well like not exist.
What do you mean, Jackie? They communicated with you multiple times in ways.
They were very cordial about it. I don't know if it's because, you know, they were shut down for a while, but like through email, they were like, we're working on the website as fast as we can. Then they DM'd me on Instagram and were like, please tell your team to stop. And like, there were like multiple, like, I didn't expect to have any contact with them, I guess. And maybe if no one had gotten involved, maybe they wouldn't have contacted us back. Like maybe if their site didn't get shut down and that kind of stuff or whatever. But it would be funny to think of, like, I'm just thinking about, like, I posted on Instagram, you know, if you guys can go ahead and please report this account. And so a bunch of my friends and followers did, they reported them. But then I like this whole public flogging thing. I was just thinking, like, if enough of it, like Gary was saying, Gwendolyn's followers, you know, they reported to her that like, here, there's this fake person or thing. So like, yeah, can we just like take it to the metaverse? Like, can we just be like, this person's been reported so many times, you need to show up and whatever. And honestly, for the entire thing that happened to me, they took down, like we all kind of got some laughs out of it. Hopefully too many people didn't get scammed. But it was kind of a non-serious thing. I felt like it took the seriousness out of it going through it the way I did.
That's cool. What a gift.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great idea, but it can be used, you know, like in not so good ways. Like, I mean, I think that there was an episode on of Black Mirror on like the whole merit system, like and like you have to like rate your experience with someone, and it festers like fakeness. You know, like if people are afraid of being flogged online or offline or in the metaverse, they're gonna fake some behaviors, fake some reactions just to avoid the flogging. You know, I mean, the episode is called a Nosedive, if you know it.
Yes, I'm definitely being less serious about this. I mean,
Yeah,
public,
yeah.
I wouldn't,
Just
you know.
I
But
love
like,
this approach.
but in a way too, I mean, I guess in a way though, if like a hacker, if there was like a low barrier to this entire situation, like I think using silliness or fun or kind of like court of public opinion type stuff, it could disarm and diffuse. I mean, because honestly, and Gary, you're probably seeing it, most people are scared of hackers and security stuff, like just out of sheer ignorance. Like, I know that's where I'm at. Like, I don't know what people are capable of. Like, can they find my home? Can they track me down? Like, what can they really do? So part of the threat is all in the not knowing. So if there were sort of these, like, you know, I'm calling them public floggings, but if there was some transparency to all of this, I mean, that would really be the best way for people to learn.
But isn't it available? We just don't have time or something like to dig into it and check what can
Well, if
be
you
done.
made it entertaining, like a metaverse vlogging, I mean, I'd show up.
I think there are a lot of like there is a lot of stuff. I think for those who are looking for some knowledge, they would find it. Also, that's part of Kybalion. Like, yeah, everything is there and it's available. But are we looking for answers and we want to know more? Our first reaction is go into fear.
I think it's complicated too, though. Like my brother does cybersecurity and he lives in Portugal, and he went to school and got a master's degree and then worked at Big Four Consulting. In other words, it's not like super easy for me to go and learn. I mean, maybe I could, but it's not like it doesn't seem like it's in my wheelhouse, you know?
Yeah, but we in generally that well something I faced it yesterday and today. By the way, they continue to the attack on my website, but I didn't let it like also like influence me. I just I was looking like what's going on. I knew that everything will be fine. I just refunded whatever there was like this. I didn't even know that it's something like this, like card testing, and they would jump on my website to do it. And I was also laughing. Well, where is my test or something? So, and I think what you brought up, Jackie, to approach it with the laughter and maybe yeah, just part of experience, because I think in some time when we reflect on things that bad happened to us, we are looking back and it's like, oh gosh, that was just a little thing and I was like reacting so much to it, or why was I so stressed? Like, come on, it was not a big deal, and just transmuting into something positive. Then today again, my flight was canceled and I was already at the airport after 3 hours right there. But also I was laughing like, what's going on? Like constantly some tests, like there's nothing, not a big deal maybe behind it. So I love this approach, what you brought up here, Jackie. Like, it's just a thing that can happen to anyone, and there is nothing to, I don't know, even be ashamed of, or like, well, fear. Then could happen to everyone.
It reminds me of the the education piece that you guys like kind of talked about. The content is all out there. When I was like learning how to do sailing, first thing first, like we kind of like we taught all the different scenarios where like shit could actually go wrong, and then operating the sailboat, and then after that the kind of like recourse we should take to deal with the situation.
We don't hear you well, Gary. Maybe you can turn off your camera.
Yes, thank you. I was just gonna
maybe
say
that
that.
will be better.
And bro, Gary, I think that most of the time your voice breaks. It sometimes becomes incomprehensible. You know, like
Microphone,
it's
Yeah,
like
maybe
it's
without
very
camera
far
will be
away.
better streaming.
Yeah. So it's like talking about like like a few like commonly like occurring scenarios. So if we can like say, hey, these are the scenarios, and these are the ways you should kind of like deal with preventing these scenarios from happening. That in itself is like already like mitigating like 80-90% of the scenarios that you will encounter with in the Web3 space.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, are you still talking, or I was confused if it was the end or
No, I'm done. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So what about this transparency around people we trust, and we believe that the community is like to be trusted, no? They want to trust us for some reason.
One thing I think is worth noting is that everybody has like different levels that they want to share. you know? Like everybody has a different comfort level with sharing. Like when I first came across sharing, I think sharing is very beneficial for the people that are receiving, not only just because of the information, but sometimes they can see things about themselves or in their life from that they see in the other person that they can't see in themselves, you know? And then the person who's sharing receives a lot too, because they kind of, that expression, you get it off your chest. I think there's like some sort of like therapeutic thing about sharing, but some people don't like to share. It's not in their, it's not part of their being. Maybe their human design or whatever.
Well, it depends what you mean by this sharing, you know, because if it's like kind of broadcasting, yeah, I'm sharing with everyone, but that is one way communication. What about the other person? How do you know how much this person want to know if you don't communicate back with the person? You don't have really interaction with the other person.
No, I don't think that's what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is just that, like, we want transparency from people, but maybe the people don't want to give transparency.
Like they
Yes.
don't want to give, but also maybe don't they want to get that much transparency?
Yeah, maybe.
So it's
Yeah,
like both
everybody's
ways.
in a
That's what I
different.
try to show, that it's, you know, both ways. It's how can you know how much you should give if you don't know how much this person wants to get, needs right now, and what exactly it is with this. Considering that we are all so different and on so many different levels in our paths, like with the awareness that we are bringing up, etc., etc., etc. Like for each person, you cannot really reach everyone.
You can't
And
reach
then,
everywhere.
and that's why I think maybe focusing on some group that we feel like resonating on similar vibes, etc., and we agree to this certain level of transparency. That's the key. Meanwhile, well, through programming, we were taught like scale, 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 go for everyone, you know, take the world. No, maybe that's not it. Maybe let's focus on this group of people that we can truly influence, and like, but influence with exchange, like also getting feedback from them, interacting truly with them.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I think that's what we're doing already right now, right here. I think we're at least on the path to what you're talking about.
Yeah, I know. But just I'm saying like in general that it's, you know, a lot of like go for masses to everyone, and meanwhile
I believe the one is the all and the all is the one. So I don't think it's really about reaching a million people. I think it's about just reaching the one person. I think we all have gifts to give. I think Gary has a lot of gifts to give. I think Salim has a lot of gifts to give, and Aga, you have a lot of gifts to give, and so do I. And so I think there are different people who want to receive our gifts in different moments, and sometimes that might be here, and sometimes that might be somewhere else. But I think that's part of our, like, people call it like their medicine, or like that's how we all grow together, is through sharing what our gifts are with each other.
yeah, but then regarding this sharing, does this person need it now? Do they want it? I think we should ask the person if they want to receive it too.
Yeah, but you let the law of attraction take care of that for you. It brings you the people who want to receive what you have to share, or it doesn't. And likewise, if I'm ready to receive something from somebody else, it'll bring me that person, or it doesn't. I try not to get in the way of that process. I just allow the universe to do that for me.
I mean, this is like with any other energy, Neil.
Yes.
I have an energy in form of a book, for instance, and I'm giving it to someone. Take it, and they're like, I'm not interested in it, but take it. I'm giving you, you know, I'm putting it on there. I don't
It
think
becomes force feeding.
But you
You
can't.
know?
I cannot, yeah, I mean, I can put it in front of you, and this person may not really want to read it right now, or it's not
100%.
interested in this.
But you
Yeah,
didn't make the book to force feed it to somebody. You made the book because you were following your highest excitement when you wrote the book, right?
Yes,
Yes.
but Am I then giving this book that you assume that I wrote because I want good for this person, or it's because my ego and I want to show that I made this book for you and I'm such a great person to share it with you?
I think that you write the book because it's in your highest excitement, and you share it with others in case there's something inside of it for others that will benefit them. Whether they choose to read the book, download the book, accept the book is not in your control, and therefore you shouldn't measure yourself by that at all.
Yeah, I mean, I can,
Yes.
as well as Salim mentioned, I can put this book. Look, I'm sharing here. Take it or not, but I cannot
Yeah.
force this person to take it,
Yeah, 100%. You can't force
and I
anybody to
shouldn't
do
force
anything.
someone to read basically my content if they are not ready for it.
You can't force anybody
It
to
can
do
be
anything
anything
ever.
else. Bye. Yeah, I think I will be wrapping up. So, yeah.
Yeah. See you.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, it is. I think that that's sometimes what the marketing is that okay, so the first thing is that we have to have like a great book, but then the marketing comes like when you do stuff like when you take snippets of the book and just like put it on Twitter and all that so that people can come and look at it. I mean, you don't have to like force feed the book to someone, but you can like show them that this is interesting. How about you read about it more? Yeah, but I mean, on a different point, like I think like talking and listening, it's consumption. Like it's like food.
Yeah.
Like when someone eats something, like they like it, and they wanna like eat more of it, but at a certain point, like they're gonna have enough. Like so, once someone feeds them more and more of it, like they're not gonna like it. You
Yeah, I'm
know?
happy that you brought up actually marketing, because it's a lot of this feeding us with some content that we maybe not necessarily want. It's not checking if the person really resonates with something and they want this more content. It's just
Yes.
giving them
Well, it's almost like
and watch it.
it's
So it's
almost like subliminal, right? Like programming, like you say, or like
it is.
yeah, it's like
It is because they are giving us different sort of content that is actually working on our unconscious mind too, or conscious mind, and they are just giving. And then is it good giving, or it's through their own interest? What is the intention there behind?
well,
You
I
try to feed someone with something because of your own interest,
I think
or
there's
you
always
truly want to give something beneficial to the person, so you also make some effort to know that person, maybe not.
it
Yeah,
can be
that
both
podcast.
though. Like you can want to give something that's beneficial for the person that helps them in their own self-interest, and like for example, if we just take the three of us here, like alien races, right? A lot of aliens, ETs, are helping us on the planet right now in different ways, and I think different races have different agendas. I think 95% of them are good, and if we want to talk good and bad, like they're good and or positive, and then 5% are maybe negative, but they have an agenda. And I think that corporations have agendas, and I think governments have agendas, and I think most people are taught to have agendas. Even Marina Jacobi, for example, she's sharing, and there's an agenda there too. I think it's a good agenda, good. But at the end of the day, we don't have full transparency who's behind all that and what the real agenda is.
I think then you use your inner compass, what you resonate with, and how. And
In all cases, you have to do that.
yeah, and that's why I'm saying, when someone is pushing some content on me and I don't feel like this, then I may not appreciate it that much, you know. And the person would like to, yeah, I'm sharing, but yeah, that's not what I want right now. And that's kind of thing I'm talking about, to know the needs of the other person if you really want to make an impact. I know that it's not that scalable, because then you may not reach that many people. It takes time, it takes effort, probably, like to your energy to get to know better the other side. Um, but yeah, what is the true intention? To help this one person that you mentioned through broadcasting to everyone? Because then I think you can achieve way more by contacting this one person directly, uh, than just probably broadcasting. But everyone has different
think-
way
I
of
think
doing things.
I think you would do both. Whatever your highest excitement is, there's no way to do it wrong. I think if you've got one person in front of you and you feel inspired to share something with them, or they ask you to share something with them, then you do that. And I think that if it's your highest excitement to create something and share it with a lot of people, that's okay too. I don't think there's like a wrong way to do it.
Did I say that it's wrong?
No, but like,
I don't want like when someone puts
better.
words in my mouth that I didn't say, because I'm not saying
Well,
that
what
it's
I
wrong.
heard was sharing with one person is better than broadcasting. Did I mishear you?
Oh, I heard that you say that your aim is like even to reach this one person, and I'm saying more efficient probably would be to really contact this one person.
And I'm
If that's
simply
your
saying that
like,
it might be in my highest excitement to contact with the one person and then also do something else. That's all.
Yeah, and that one person, that can affect like a million other person. Like, I mean, I do good things and I forget about them. Like, I maybe said this before, but when I was like a senior in college, I helped like a junior, like get in the college to prepare for the exam, like, to be accepted. And I totally forgot about her. So like a while later, I mean, like, she stopped me like, "Hey, do you remember me?" I was like, "Oh, hi. No, I don't." Like, "You helped me with my exam to get in the college." I'm like, "Oh yeah, hi, how's it going?" So I mean, helping others is like a ripple effect, you know. Like sometimes you help someone,
yeah,
and out of nowhere, like that help comes back to you when you least expect it.
And how
yeah,
does it feels good, right, Salim? Like it feels
Yeah,
good. Like if you've learned something that helped you a lot in a time that maybe was difficult for you, then like sometimes you overcome something and you just want to give it to people. And
yes,
it's not like I there are lots of people that don't want to receive, and there are also people that do want to receive. And so it feels good to give it to people. If you can help somebody, you want to do it, right?
right.
well, I think that there is that's ego also involved in sharing even.
Yes, yes,
And we
yes.
should be aware of it, that is it really about helping this other person, so you truly, this is your intention, or it's serving your ego to feel good about yourself that you're helping someone else? Because
I
those,
mean, to be
and
honest,
that's what I'm
I
saying,
mean,
like this tuning truly to help this person and
yeah,
forgetting that I helped this person, and not
yeah,
showing off on every place that I helped someone. That's probably something that goes truly from the heart intention of helping. But if someone is using it then to um, talk about it constantly, how I helped everyone and how great I am, then you sense it that maybe this was coming more from ego. It doesn't mean that this
okay,
person didn't want something good too, but I think it's something to face ourselves. Just okay, when I'm sharing,
Yeah,
is
I
it
agree
is
with
it
that.
from my ego that I want to feel good about myself, or
Well,
it's something that I truly just want to give and I want to forget about it, and just I'm happy that I helped someone. That's it. And
I
it's
I
even
think
in
you're
our
right.
religions, like your right hand should not know what the left hand did to help someone.
I
Yeah.
think you're right, and I think that people do a lot of things from their ego. I think people talk on, like, get involved with certain projects, take on roles, start businesses. I mean, there's a lot that goes into that people are doing from ego. You know?
I mean,
I
even
totally
Gary.
agree, and that's why I'm very sensitive to it. Like I feel it, just like, and I guess it's like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It. That's something that all of us have to face and balance. That's what I'm also talking about. This
Yeah, no,
healthy ego. It's not about not appreciating ourselves at all. I think there are moments like I was just yesterday crying actually in front of girls and starting to realize, gosh, you did some good. And I think we should appreciate ourselves for what we are doing to others, that it's good. And yeah, that's part of like, let's find this healthy ego too. You are also important here. Yes. And yeah, appreciate yourself like others you would appreciate. Yeah. But on the other side, it's not to show off. And I think everyone should find this balance simply in there, and talk to ourselves through the heart, and like how I want to do it, and if I'm really doing it with this intention, or is to serve myself more, because I maybe not value myself enough, and I have some other shadows to face maybe, because usually it's that we don't value appreciate ourselves,
Yeah,
and we
and
are looking externally, like for confirmation that I'm doing good.
I
Maybe
get
that's
that. And
something.
then there's an aspect where, like, you want to create something. So, like Salim said, with marketing, they want to create you to buy that thing. And so once you get to a certain moment with yourself and you realize what kind of world you want to live in, then you might want to share some of that with others for like a few reasons. One would be to find your tribe, like what we did here, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And another one would be to create more of the reality that you believe, that you think, the thoughts that you keep on thinking would feel good to live in.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate a lot this group, that we can all face this kind of different things in ourselves, and we are like mirroring towards each other with this big understanding uh, what we are going through,
Yeah.
each of
Yeah.
us. It's a lot of reflection here, even though we're like um, we still have a lot to learn, each of us. Okay, like and it's a never ending story, like with the progress, and it's actually very exciting. Well, what would be the next goal for us if there was not constant progress? Would be no fun if you are already reached there. And that's beautiful, like that you find people with this similar understanding and compassion towards each other, whatever we have to face there.
Yeah. I mean, so Gary V once said that if people think that I'm doing good things like for me to feel good about myself and feed my ego, then yes, I am doing it to feel good and feed my ego. I am the most egotistical guy ever. But people like he doesn't do it to brag about it, you know. And I mean, I'm talking about myself as well. So I'm sometimes it, you know, like it's very clear when donating money, like people, you know, like they donate money to either to help people or like to say, oh hey, look at me, I'm donating money, look how good
Yeah.
I am. Yeah, you know that it's not that. And when it comes also like to not feeling good about oneself, people, you know, like there is a great quote that says that when you feel bad about yourself, help someone else. I mean, if and I think that
And I think that is one of the best ways, like to feel good about yourself. Like, I mean, you don't have to broadcast it. Like I mean, even that girl I just mentioned that I helped. There are countless people that I have helped. You know, that I don't even mention, that I have forgotten about.
On the
Right?
other side, like, how can you help someone when you didn't help yourself yet? I think that's like, you can help someone with something that you've been through, so you understand, and like you've been there, and you can help someone with something that you understand. But if you try to help someone with something that you are still kind of like struggling, how can you really do it well? Or maybe
Sure.
that's because it's like, yeah, reflection of yourself, but then you should again face it, and well, you have to first help yourself. I tried it too. I was trying to help others without helping first myself,
Yeah.
and it led me to bad places basically, and I didn't understand why, what was happening. So I just feel like, yeah, maybe first take care of this. Like, you should treat yourself as others.
Yes.
um, I also don't mean that when you are helping someone, you shouldn't feel good about it.
Of
No,
course.
I mean, it's not that, because otherwise, I don't know, there's some bad ego there. No, no, no. Like, everything is about balance. Like, that's the craziest part. Like,
Yes.
how to find the balance. It's like at every aspect of our life, find the
I mean, it
balance.
doesn't have to be balance. I mean, achieving
Yin
balance
and
is,
yang. It is about
yeah, yeah.
balance.
I mean, achieving the balance is the goal, but
Yeah.
sometimes we can't achieve the balance, and sometimes, like Simon Sinek said, balance, like it's also this teetering. Like it's this, it's this, like pursuit of balance. Like it's this teetering, like sometimes we work more, sometimes we work less, and sometimes it's about, like the Taoism, you know
I mean,
that.
in every aspect in our life, there will be like looking for balance. So there is a lot to find in this world, I guess. And
It's
I would just
interesting you say that,
conclude,
Alvin.
maybe, sorry?
Well, it's interesting that you say that about the balance because I
Yeah.
think a lot of like the belief systems of like being a startup founder and like Celine was talking about Gary V and like grind culture or Web3 even or there I don't think there is a lot of balance. Like I think like I believe to be successful in my company that I had to do certain things and take certain actions that probably left me unbalanced, you know?
I know.
But your goal is to find the balance.
Yeah, but I wasn't
Yeah.
aware of it then.
Yeah, but that's what we can, like, that's, I guess, the point, that we don't understand that it's not like going from extreme to another extreme.
Yeah,
That
Yes.
one thing
Yes.
was not working, so then I will go totally different direction. It's
yeah,
not left and right. No, it's not that. It's actually to find this middle
yeah.
ground, and
Yeah. And sometimes you do have to go all the way left before you figure out that's not the way. And then maybe oftentimes people do go all the way right after that. And then they figure out that they want to be somewhere in the middle, you
yeah,
know?
and that's that
Yeah.
experience that we gather. Like, where is this balance?
Yeah.
Where is
And,
this middle ground?
and, and to your point
Yeah.
about sharing, at the end of the day, words don't really teach anybody anything. It's only through your own life experience that you really get clarity, you know?
Yeah, you have, like, you learn something, but then if you don't, through action, that's what Marina is repeating too. Action is experience. If you don't experience it, then you don't crystallize it. You
Yeah.
can just talk about it, but if you didn't really experience it, well, that's just talk.
But even if you talk about it, the people receiving it then have to go and experience it for themselves to really get the benefit, you know? So maybe words are really not all that helpful at the end of the day.
That's why it's like this. In the end, you cannot take responsibility really for others. They will take their
Yeah.
actions. You can inspire them, But then again, I'm saying, like, for me, it's this talk that you can feel the other person, where they are, what they actually need right now, because they might not be ready for some things. And yeah, even recently I was talking, like, revealing something about aliens straight away to someone, they will first probably think like, you are nuts, man. But if you do it step by step, revealing some other stuff first, and showing, like, I don't know, how the system is constructed, etc., and giving some background knowledge to them, and giving them time and space for digesting it too. They don't necessarily need to immediately catch it.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it takes an amount of expansion to be able to receive what's always happening for us here, you know?
Yeah. Okay, I will wrap it up because we are almost 3 hours, guys. It was lovely
Okay.
talking to you, but let's say that our conclusion here is, in terms of transparency, also to find the balance and simply what feels good for a particular group, what they also, like, what level of that transparency they expect and want to receive and want to give. Is that correct? Neil, are you going to play some music? Do you have some guitar there we can close with?
Yeah, we would love
Perfect.
Yay.
Thank you.